James, how do you feel, I know it's early, how do you feel about your left tackle group? I know you moved Andrew to the right side, probably maybe to look at some other players. How's that going, and have you learned anything about the guys for that side?
That's still something that we have to figure out. I told you guys, I think at the opening media session that we had, that we need to figure out who our fourth corner was. We need to figure out who our fourth safety was. And it's the same thing with tackle. You know, we still need to resolve that. Second, third, fourth, we need to figure out who those guys are. Starting to move some parts around right now. But yeah, that's still an ongoing discussion.
How much headway have you made at quarterback in the first week or so?
Probably, it's hard to say. To be honest with you, it really depends on the practice. I don't think we're closer to making a decision than we were before. It's been a heated battle between those two of them. I think Tommy's done some really nice things. I think so has Trace.
Has he made up ground, though? You had
Yes.
mentioned. Okay.
Yes.
Are there any specific freshmen that have stood out to you in terms of picking up this up-tempo offense and then the collegiate system in general?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Are there any freshmen that have stuck out to you in terms of picking up the up-tempo offense and then also the collegiate system?
What do you mean a collegiate
Freshmen,
system?
like being on campus.
No, I think as a group, hiring P.J. Mullen, I think has been a really good hire for our entire program when it comes to community service and everything else. But he's also been, instrumental in the freshmen and their transition, so that's helped. I wouldn't say there's one guy more than others right now. Especially with the offense, I think, Jake's been here for the spring, so I don't know if that's fair. McGovern, he's been here for the spring, so Miles is getting a lot of reps and done some nice things. So yeah, there's not really one guy that really jumps out.
Can you see specific improvements from either quarterback from the last time you saw him in this arena, in this realm?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned to you guys before, that Trace, had a gap when it came to the mental aspect of the game, had a lot more college reps than Tommy had, and I think Tommy has really worked at that and improved since the end of spring ball. So that's been a real positive. So that would probably be the one thing that jumps out.
Brent Press said you guys are going to rotate through the middle spots. What's Jason done well in there, and what's Naeem done well?
To be honest with you, it's really a situation right now where we think we have two guys that can play Mike linebacker and that we can win with. Really, the way we do it, those two guys are primarily box linebackers anyway. Typically you're on a hash in college football. You're into the boundary. That guy's typically going to hug the box anyway. So there's not a whole lot of difference between the two of them. I think you guys know, everybody talks about Naeem's football intelligence. He's got a lot of respect from his teammates about that and the coaches. And Jason Cabinda stepped into that role and did really well. So we really look at those two positions very similar. So we feel good about it. We feel like it's interchangeable.
It seems like this quarterback race has been going on for a long time, and the story the entire time has been the fact that Trace has had the reps at backup under Hack. He's had that experience. Disappointed is probably a strong word, but what's the feeling that you have about the fact that he hasn't put this race away over the course of this time?
I don't think this quarterback race has gone on very long. I mean, I think if you look across the country in college football, whenever you have multiple quarterbacks competing for a job, I think this is more the norm, in my opinion, in my 22 years. So I don't think it's unusual what's going on right now.
Have you put a lot more offense in the first week, or have you pretty much been going over what you did in the spring and trying to get that right?
Oh, a little bit more. We have more time, so we actually cut back how much we're installing daily, but there is a little bit more offense that's going in over the entirety of camp, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think day by day it's probably been a little bit slower because during spring ball, it was the first time putting the offense in. We only had 15 days to do it. We got 29 practice opportunities now, so we felt like we needed to get everything in so we could come back during camp and clean some things up, and then add a few things that we didn't get involved with this spring. And then obviously we did some off-season studies, had a bunch of discussions and some things that we wanted to add and tweak. I'd say we're probably 20% different than Joe was at Fordham.
Have you guys gotten any closer to figuring out that interior defensive line, what that first team's going to look like?
Yeah, no, that's still ongoing right now. I think Antoine White's done some really nice things. So far this camp, he's really kind of jumped out. Parker's had a lot of reps to kind of know who he is, obviously. And then the rest of them, we're really still trying to kind of figure out. But Anton's probably the guy that's jumped out here recently. Kevin Givens, we've talked about a lot. You guys know how we feel about Kevin. Has done some nice things. Still a lot of room for growth. Although we patted Kevin on the back a lot, he still has a lot of room for growth and development.
How's Chavis settling in?
Good, but as you can imagine, he just showed up 2 days ago, or what feels like 2 days ago. He just got here. He wasn't here all summer, so he wasn't in the type of shape that the rest of our guys are here, where they're here all summer working out with our strength staff. To think a guy's going to be, at Nassau Community College on his own, training at the same level our guys, it's not even close. So trying to get him caught up as quickly as we possibly can. But it's a difference. But we have no choice but get them ready.
How have freshman kickers done under pressure at the end of practice?
The first couple days really well, and then they kind of fell off a couple days, and then they've bounced back. They're doing some really nice things. They both have really strong legs, and we had a couple days where I thought they were pressing and really trying to, hit the heck out of the ball, which it's really no different than golf. You let the club do the work. You don't change your swing, whether it's a 50-yard field goal or whether it's a 30-yard field goal. And the same thing with punting. Just same motion every single time. And they're doing some nice things. We've got great competition right now at long snapper. We've got great competition at punter. We've got great competition at kicker, which we need. So that's been really good for us. You got your hair cut.
I did,
Looks nice.
We've heard a lot
I'm working
about
towards you.
we've heard a lot about the depth at running back. Well, what can you say about the receivers and how they've been doing so far this camp?
Really good. We came in, after spring ball and this summer feeling like that was going to be one of our strengths. You have that group of Irving and Jawan that we've all been very excited about. You guys can see it as well. Those guys are, people that, the players are excited about, the coaches are excited about. So now the fact that they're in the fold, not redshirting anymore, we feel like we have 2, if not 3 deep at pretty much all 3 wide receiver positions. And then, obviously we have the ability to go 10 personnel, which is 4 wides and 1 back, and feel good about that as well.
Off what you've seen this first week, is Andrew Nelson going to stay at right tackle, or is that still?
Most likely. Yeah, most likely he'll be at right tackle.
When you say you're looking for a 4th corner or 4th safety, maybe just take corner, what does that guy have to be able to do? Obviously you're not going to depend on him to play the reps like Haley would, but he's going to have to play some reps, obviously.
Yeah, what you'd like is a situation, different than what we've done at offensive line the last couple of years. You'd love to have the left corner have a legitimate backup and the right corner to have a legitimate backup, that those guys are rotating in, and then that guy can also be your nickel, in some situations where sometimes you may have 3 corners and that corner's backing up really both spots. Same thing as you guys have seen that we've done on the offensive line, but you like to get away from that. You'd like to have 4 corners that you feel really good about, and really 5, because you need 4, but you better have a 5th guy you feel good about as well, so that if you do have an injury, you still have a 2 deep at both spots. So that's really what we're trying to do at all those spots.
I'm sorry. How many guys are you feeling comfortable with on that O-line in that regard that you think you can go to battle with? Because a couple years ago, you said you weren't quite where you needed to be.
Yeah, we're still. I know you guys don't want to hear this, but we're still kind of working through that. I feel like we have some guys that the thing that's changed is we have some guys right now that are really pushing returning starters for their job. So I think your point is a good one. We do have more guys that we feel that we can go into a game with, but it's trying to decide who are the best 5. And then we feel really good about that next tier. Now, is that next tier, guys that are competing for a job that have not played yet, redshirt freshmen? Is it redshirt sophomores? Is it returning starters as your backups that have lost their jobs or kept their jobs? We got legitimate competition right now.
How many guys are you playing games, though, I guess? Are you a 5 lineman guy, or would you be willing to play 8, 9 guys?
No, I think on the offensive line is probably different than a lot of the other positions. You'd like to, you hear around the country, there's some teams that get through the whole season with the same 5. You'd love to do that. It's not very common. But, you'd like to play and keep that unit the same as much as you possibly can so they can develop a chemistry, not only physically in their footwork working together and their fundamentals and technique, but also from a communication standpoint. That's something that we've been really trying to get to. So, that's the ideal situation. It's not like the D-line where you'd like to rotate 10 guys or 8 guys. You'd like to keep those guys as consistent as you possibly can.
James, what's one thing you didn't know about this team a week ago that you know now? What's maybe the most important thing you've learned in that time?
No, I don't know if it's necessarily that. I just think the biggest thing is our chemistry, our leadership, our buy-in, our toughness, the locker room, all those types of things. We're in a much better place. You know, the interesting thing that I would say to you guys is, you know, I don't think there's any doubt that the team is dramatically better from if you had to rank it 1 through 105, we're dramatically better 1 through 105. You know, just we have more guys, we have more depth. What's going to be the challenge is obviously the team that we put on the field has to be dramatically better. The team from top to bottom is dramatically better, so we're able to practice better. You're able to put the first out there and get a legitimate practice. You're able to put the second out there and get a legitimate practice. You're able to put the thirds out there now and have a legitimate practice with competitive reps. You know, so our team's better. We gotta get to the point where our starters and our two deep that are going to play in the game is significantly better, like the team is right now. Does that make sense?
Could you comment on?
It doesn't look like it makes sense to you.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, you know it does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.